Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. I'm Ryan Purvis, your host, supported by our producer Heather Bicknell. In this series, you'll hear stories and opinions from experts in the field, stories from the front lines, the problems they face and how they solved them, the areas they focused on from technology, people and processes, to the approaches they took that will help you to get to the grips with the digital workspace inner workings. Michelle, welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm Michelle Basset. I have a background in internet marketing. I was an internet marketer for many, many moons. And then I moved on to data science. Soon here, I'll be deeper into artificial intelligence. But right now, I'm just a data governance engineer, friendly neighborhood data gal. And I am currently in the process of launching a product called BizQor, which helps entrepreneurs get from the spark of that idea to a blazing business. So spark, flame, blaze are the steps that we take.
I like that. I'm South African. We like to burn meat. So I said, direct translation of braai is burn, but and it's short for braai vleis, which is burn meat, cooked meat. But
sounds good to me. Sounds good.
That's great. So tell me, because I initially thought you were going to tell me it was called Purple Unicorn, because that's in your name in the corner of my screen.
Yeah.
How did you get to this point? What was the problem that drove this, or opportunity that presented itself?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always been a person that exhibited applied curiosity. My grandmother who raised me had a different name for that, but I'm going to call it applied curiosity for the sake of this conversation. And so I've always been super curious, always been into stuff. And when you are a multifaceted person, notice all these fancy words that I'm throwing out here. But when you have more than one interest, you grow up to be a person with more than one interest. And typically growing up, especially in America, you're taught, be this one thing. You need to be the best one thing that you can be. So I actually started college wanting to be a practitioner of orthotics and prosthetics. That didn't happen. I wound up graduating undergrad with a bachelor's degree in behavior analysis, and I subsequently got a computer science degree by accident, because somewhere along the line from biology to computer science, I wound up having enough credits to actually have a computer science degree as well. So
okay,
that didn't change my lack of ability to pay back my student loans. So I had to go back for a master's program. And by that point, I was into internet marketing. So I got behavior analysis, internet marketing. The natural step for everybody listening to this is some form of data science, because you have the analytical background, a lot of statistics, and then you have the marketing background, which it's considered very creative and airy-fairy, especially back in 2011, 2012, before a lot of the SaaS companies came out with their data platforms and analytics, and everybody had a TikTok account, was an expert in some sort of marketing. So
there's a lot of them nowadays. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so back then things were very airy-fairy. So even using a little bit of data or analysis but behind it made your marketing campaign stand out. I wanted to kind of level up financially. And so I got my data science 1, which is business intelligence certification from Emory University in Atlanta. And yeah, I've just been consulting, data governance, engineering, building products. I did a little trading on the side. I do a little bit of everything. And everybody is now looking for someone who does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And recruiters call me Purple Unicorn, because they're like, oh, these customers always want purple unicorns and I can never find them. And I'm like, well, I'm a purple unicorn. You found me. Now give me lots and lots of money. And then they typically don't, but that's cool too.
That's great. That's great. Tell me, any neurodiversity in your background? Any
Oh,
ADHD or
yeah,
Asperger's or?
sure. Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with me. But
No, I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, yeah.
no. Yes, as far as an official diagnosis, we are bouncing around different things. But as far as executive dysfunction, I definitely got a gold star on that one, right? But as far as a specific, my health insurance will pay for this conversation with this person. I don't have that yet, but we're trying to figure it out for whatever reason at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you have,
No, I
but
do.
only
I
because
definitely do.
well, it's only because you and I have so many things that are similar, and I'm a, ADHD diagnosed, and my wife will probably say 10 other things. But it was just, I mean, I did the similar thing to you in the sense of went to university, studied one thing, ended up with another thing, purely because I had enough credits to get the other things. But, learn other stuff all the time, become, like you say, a purple
Mhm.
unicorn. So that's why I asked the question, because I know that that's how I'm driven as well.
Yeah, man, you just gotta
And it's
follow it.
good.
You just gotta follow it.
Yeah, and it can be frustrating because and I used to actually read a very good book called the Da Vinci Method,
Hmm.
and it's a guy who analyzed Da Vinci and all his inventions and all the rest of it. And the thing about Da Vinci, which I found interesting, is he didn't finish almost half of his designs. It's like the things that we know about are maybe 10% of what he was working on. And one of the things about him was that he would start a lot of things and you'd work on all of them at the same time and you'd constantly be switching between them, which would be ADHD to an extent. And if you look at his reputation down the road, he's well known, he's famous, some would say infamous, but
Yes.
but it is kind of the skill set you need to have if you want to do things that are different. And success is a your personal measurement, but I would say he was successful to an extent. He managed to get somebody else to pay for his time while
Exactly.
he invented a whole bunch of stuff that was never going to be built because the technology didn't exist. I mean,
Hmm.
there were no helicopters, there was no flying machines, there was no, most of his stuff
Hmm.
is built in the last 100 years.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. And for a really long time, and I'm pretty sure this is not where we're gonna go in this conversation, but for a really long time, I felt bad. I had like the shame cycle around,
Mm.
I'm not what the world wants me to be, or I'm not what people want me to be, or whatever else, because I can't make up my mind, or I was this is an old American phrase. I was real fuddy duddy and wishy washy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it's like I wasn't though. Like I was just really interested, and then I became really good because of hyperfixation. I became really good at whatever I was doing, and I really 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 felt bad about it. And it still causes me to this day to have a lot of imposter syndrome because you kind of look at people, especially on the internet, you look at people and say, oh, this person's so great, they've been doing this for 20 years and blah 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 blah. I'll never be that. And why are these people asking me to do this keynote and this podcast and this that the third? I'm not that great. And then it's like the people that I've looked up to for so many years are actually happy to see me and consult and asking me to consult with them and to look at their websites and to do this and to do that. And it's like, who am I? Who am I? But yeah, so soon as I let go of this notion that I had to be one thing, or that I had to be what somebody else wanted me to be, my life has been way better and I've had way more success just knowing that I am who I am, and that's all that I can be. Wreck-It Ralph, for
Yeah.
those of you who have watched that movie recently.
But now, I mean, so you're not medicated, or are you? Or you?
No,
And I don't mean it. Yeah.
no. So like I don't drink coffee or anything.
Okay.
So I'm like zero. Right now I got some Advil. Like that's really the only medication that I got
Okay.
going on right now. I did try. It's around here somewhere, not sponsored, actually. Good thing I can't find it. But it's called Focus something. I found it. It's called Brainzyme Focus.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when I'm having a particularly bad bout of staring off into the distance, not being fully productive because I have no dopamine in my system, because I'm also always on some sort of weight loss, whatever. So sometimes I just don't have enough dopamine from sugar. That does help out a lot, but you gotta figure out what to focus on, or elsewise you'll just be staring out the window looking at a little yellow flower for like 3 hours, and then you really got nothing done. But that is helpful.
It's funny, yeah. So interesting enough, I find cold showers help with dopamine.
Cold showers?
Yeah, big time. If you are feeling like not there, have a cold shower, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and you're organized straight away.
I have the whole texture thing, but I also have a thing about temperature. So like living in Georgia, you'd be like, oh, well, it's always warm and stuff or whatever. But like I have a heater under my desk right now. But so
Wow.
I can't be too cold. I can't be too hot. So a cold shower is like, I don't know, but I'll try it.
Well, so it goes back to the Stoics, even like Marcus Aurelius and those guys. Part of it is just that mental fortitude to go and do it, to go turn the shower on and step underneath it. And then once you get past that, I can't breathe, which takes about 2 seconds, you get into the switch where basically and I actually feel it like a physical like wave flow down me from top to bottom, where I can actually feel like I'm changing. It's the weirdest thing, and I get the same thing when I'm meditating. If I'm meditating every day, it takes me less time to meditate.
Okay. Yeah.
So and I have the same sort of thing where if I sit down and close my eyes and I use an Aura ring with the Aura app has got a certain thing. So I've trained myself to use the same sound all the time. I can actually feel myself drop in to the meditation zone. I can just open my eyes. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm recharged. And it's the same thing with the cold shower.
I'll definitely try it. The problem with whatever I have is that I get all the accessories, right? And then I study all the things I need to study about it. And then it's time to actually start and develop that habit. And then I do it for a solid 2.5 days. And then I'm out of like $3,000 and I have all this stuff.
Yeah, and well, it's funny you say that because I'm exactly the same. I bought for a while, bought every tool, and I made a conscious decision at some point that I wasn't going to buy any more tools. So I'm actually talking to you balancing on a wobble board. So while I'm standing and wobbling, it helps me to concentrate. So I bought that sort of stuff, and I use it. It's not like all the time, but I do use them a lot. And the meditation and the cold showers. The Aura ring is actually just a general health thing, but those things, meditation doesn't cost you anything, and neither does the cold showers.
True.
So you take away all the energy you spend on finding the right thing, just like, well, I'll just go and do 10 minutes meditation. I'll just go do the cold shower. So every time you have a shower, you just at the end of the shower, you just turn it to cold for 10 seconds.
I'll definitely try it out.
Well, let me know how it goes. And it gives me ideas. I mean, it's bizarre because you literally walk out of the shower and you're like, 2 ideas will pop in your head because now you've shocked your system a bit and you've kind of unclogged some stuff. And you get the dopamine comes now from 1, you've pushed yourself to do something you didn't want to do, which is a cold shower. And then 2, that you're rewarding yourself mentally by getting the idea. So now you know that it's a good idea to go do a cold shower because the ideas will come.
Yes. Yeah.
Same as walking and going, like gym for me is another one. If I go to gym, often, and I'm sure you're the same because you're consulting, your diary is not really your own because you're dealing with clients and you're under pressure all the time. And going to gym is like, well, that's an hour out of my day to go to gym.
Yeah.
But so I can't do any work in that hour. But often if I go to gym, and we go to gym with a sauna and stuff, so I go to the gym and I go sit in the sauna for 10 minutes. That 50 minutes to an hour is like the ultimate brain time because you're doing this repetitive motion of lifting weights or sitting on the treadmill or whatever it is, and you're forced to do the repetitive, boring thing, which allows your brain freedom to process things and pop in ideas. So I cut out gym for 2 weeks. I became a very grumpy, unhappy person. I've been going back to gym now, even for 20 minutes, and I'm like, back to happy. It's just
hmm
because I've got the time to not be overwhelmed. So
I don't want to derail too much from the conversation, but I feel like that's a later point for later, because it's like
no, we can go anywhere you like with
I will
this.
find those things, right? And then it's like
Yeah.
I'll stop, and it's like, oh no, I miss going to the gym, and it's like, well, then I like talk myself out of doing it anyway.
Yeah, but this is no. We can go anywhere. This is our call. We can go where we want. But this is exactly the point in some respects. When the world went through COVID and lockdowns and all that stuff, it was an opportunity for a lot of people to reset their behaviors and to put some personal boundaries in. And that's why a lot of people don't want to go back to an office, because they break their routines that they're quite happily in.
Yep.
Because if I go into London for the day, that's not only a long commute, but there's no time to go to gym because it's an hour and a half to go to London, sometimes 2 hours. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. All the calls that I'd be doing, I can't do because now I'm in, meeting rooms and all that stuff. So it disrupts the productivity thing. But there's value in going for the meetings I'm going for. But going to an office now has purpose. So it's okay to go to an office. And the same token, going to the office is a purpose-driven thing.
And so many people moved during COVID too, because again, COVID wasn't the 2 weeks that the government promised us it was going to be. And so I know people who were working in different countries.
Oh yeah. Well, we
and
did
like
that.
no one knew that they were in a different country. Like they like pull it off for like a year. But so I actually used to live in Atlanta. I don't live in Atlanta anymore because everything got crazy, and it was like, look, at this point, my office is 6 minutes away from my bedroom door, max, and that's because I stopped and dropped something and had to pick it up, and I forgot what I was doing, and I had to go back to the room, and then you know what I'm talking about. And so like, look, this doesn't make any sense. Everything's super expensive. Everything's getting dangerous. I'm moving. And they were like, fine. So now once a quarter-ish, I wound up going back up to the office. Everyone loves me. I bring donuts. We do face painting. It's a good time.
Yeah, but it's a focused thing now. So it become better. And to go back to your thing about you do something for a day or two and then you stop. The simple rule is don't make it. If you're going to do something, it's okay to miss once, but don't miss twice. So if you don't do this cold shower today, you got to do it tomorrow. And it's just a psychological thing, because you just hold yourself accountable to just keeping the next day in a pattern, not the next month in a pattern. Because the minute you say I'm going to do this the whole year, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, no.
No, and I mean, I schedule everything, and my wife gets irritated with me because I'll tell her I haven't got time because my diary is full. And she said, but you don't make time for me. I said, well, you know, if I need to get in my diary, I need to make time in my diary. So if you want to talk to me about stuff, we have to book it in. And it's just to keep those routines going. And one of the things that I've had to struggle with the last couple of weeks to get gym back in is I've had to put it over other meetings that have been booked in my diary. And it's not for the immediacy. It's for when the next week comes in where there's nothing booked. People can't book in my diary now because now the diary is booked. And all my meetings are driven through Calendly, which Calendly obviously will only allow them to book in slots that are available.
Yep.
So, I mean, very much how we got linked up to talk is through a Calendly link. That's because it was spaced in my diary.
Yep.
Now, gym is next Friday. There's gym in the way, so you won't get this. No one will get the slot.
No, so I've been having to do the same thing. Dating. So I'm not married. So I've been dating. So dating has to go on the calendar. Every single thing that my son does, because my son does violin, swimming, acting.
Wow.
He does MMA, boxing. It's like he needs his own calendar, actually. But
he does,
as the designated chauffeur and snack consultant extraordinaire, it is my job and responsibility to transport the king from place to place. So that is now on the calendar, because for a long while, it's like people also had a bad habit, because I wasn't using a third-party system, of just booking over stuff. And it's like, why did you think that this was okay? Did you ask me? Was this okay? And so for a good long time, especially consulting, people would just book lunch hours. It's like,
yes, yeah.
So it's like from 7:30 in the morning to sometimes 9 o'clock at night, I'm back to back to back to back to back, and I haven't eaten. I might have gone to the bathroom twice. I'm definitely not drinking water. So that had to stop. So I did that from like 2020 to 2022, like early 2022.
Yep.
And then, I had to put those boundaries in place because I also have an issue with that. Not sure if that's diagnosable or not, but I'll shoot it over to a therapist. But so I had to put those firm boundaries. Like, look, you can book however you want to book, but if you see something that's already there, it doesn't mean I'm going to show up. So you might be by yourself.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's one of the things I've loved about Calendly as a solution is I got multiple calendars because I got multiple customers that I deal with, and often what happens with that is they all want to have their stand up at the same time, which is 9 o'clock or whatever in the morning,
or 10:30, depending on where they are.
Yeah, and there's time zone considerations and all that kind of stuff. And by having Calendly in place, to an extent, external stuff gets handled. Now I've joined all my calendars together in the sense that I invite myself across my multiple calendars to all those meetings, so they can see that my diary's full because of all the other stuff. So there's a little bit of, and people get a little bit frustrated. They're like, well, your diary is always so full, we can't get into it. It's like, well, there's a reason for that.
I'm amazing, obviously. I don't know if you met me or not, but there are a lot of people who reach out to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that about that, but you know what I mean. It's just you when you do this kind of work, you've got to you're spread thin, but you've got to also manage your expectations around what you can deliver in that space, which is what So the product we built values around work and delivery management because of this problem and prioritization, because my biggest problem in life is prioritization of things and sequencing them. So it's the problem that I struggle with the most, but it's also the thing I'm really well known for doing very well because it's my anxiety in life is priorities and sequencing. Much like I think the product you're building is probably something that's a passion for you as well.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where, again, purple unicorn, so many things. So growing up poor, one of my main missions, right, was to make sure that my kids never had to deal with poverty. And I don't have kids with an S, but I went to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college.
Well done.
Not because anybody motivated me to do so. It was just, hey, I believe the whole lie. If you go to school, you get a good education, you make good money, right? And so
it definitely helps. And there's a stat that people that are educated in America die later than those that don't.
Yeah, sure. So there's definitely a lot of positives if we could fix some American issues around the actual education system, starting at kindergarten, and make things more affordable. Access does not mean success. Anyway, that's a whole soapbox. But so I wind up having this, not like a greedy money Scrooge McDuck sort of money mindset, but money was a tool to get me things that I needed, and to this day, I don't really care about money like that. Like, I don't have expensive labels and Prada and Louis Vuitton and all these other names I can't say. And I don't have a fancy dancy, okay, I do have a fancy dancy car, but it's a Kia. It's not like a Tesla or anything like that, but it is pretty fancy. But it's like, so that was never me, but I always wanted to make sure that I had options and choices. And so a lot of that was entrepreneurship, And so I've always had a little business. I always had a little side hustle. In like middle school, I got in trouble for selling Snicker bars, and I've always had some sort of hustle or doing people's art projects or homework or whatever, right? So I've always had some sort of hustle going on. And so I learned a lot about business, and I learned a lot about sales, and I have that actual professional marketing background. And so people come to me all the time and are like, hey, by the way, Michelle, I got this business idea and I want to make $1 million in 2 weeks. and you're my friend, so you're going to tell me how. And I'm like, well, okay, sure. Let's play this game today. and it's like, okay, so do you have a business name? Yeah, I'm going to call it some outrageous name. I can't even think of anything because it's that outrageous right now. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, not sure anyone can spell that one. But do you have a logo? Well, no. All right. Did you register the business with the state? No. All right. Did you think about a website at all? No. No content for your website? Nope. Okay. So it's just these basic things, right? Or people who have been in business for a while and they have a cleaning company, for example, and he's gonna kill me if he ever actually listens to this. But it's like, you've had this cleaning company, you had good side money for a while, but you want to do it full time, but you don't have any business funding or this, that, the third. But you haven't been filing your taxes properly, and you don't have a Dun and Bradstreet number. And I don't think that you actually renewed your license with the Secretary of State. So we're gonna have to fix these things, So it's just those
Well,
things.
you're providing an advisory service there, so
Exactly. But it's an advisory service that's so foundational and so minimal that I don't think anybody else, like professionally, if you like go on Google and try to find an advisory company, that they would even take you seriously as far as even answering the call. And so that's kind of where I kind of filled in the gap for a lot of people. It's like, hey, you have this idea on a napkin that you stole from a hotel restaurant with all these wonderful ideas on it. And no one's saying that these ideas aren't wonderful, also ADHD. But now, if you really want to make this into a reality, here are the exact steps. And better yet, here's the platform. Because with BizQor, you get the phone number, you get the web design, you also get web hosting. We'll make your logo for you.
That was a very good way of bringing in what your product does, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? I was trying real hard. I was trying to be smooth with it.
No, but it's funny because I was talking about with my product manager yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
She did a video on like I run through the product for some investors I'm talking to, and she did a typical product manager thing. Here are the features. Here's the functionality. And I sent her a long voice note because I was driving. I said, you've got to take it to what are the problems we solve, and here's how we solve them. So problem 1, problem 2, problem 3.
Yep.
Which 3? It's only the top 3 because no one's going to remember past 4.
Nope.
So you got it. So we're talking about it again today, and I just said that's how you tell the story. You tell the story of how it's the hero's journey. Here's the hero. They had the idea. They were going to this thing. They had this challenge. They had to overcome this challenge. And so usually a small challenge, and then they carry on, and there's a bigger challenge, and then they have to overcome that, and then that's the end of the story. They're happy ever after.
And you always make yourself the Yoda or whatever the wise man is.
Yes, that's a great way to put it, because it is very much like that. It's having, and we're very similar. So it's being that trusted advisor, there to guide and help, but not necessarily do for them all the time. Because if you do it for them all the time, you end up with a diary that you can't control.
Yes. And so that definitely goes back to those boundaries that, I was talking about earlier. And so when it comes to that line, and I'm segueing back over the BizQor, when it comes back to that line, it's like there is always more joy and pride when you did things yourself, And the way that I'm kind of explaining it to a lot of people, they're like, well, it is their business. They got to learn how to swim, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, sure. But hear me out. You have the ability to do something, and should are two very different words with two very different meanings.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Exactly. And then we throw in have to. Now you got 3 very, very, very different words with very similar actions. And it's like, you can do these. You can learn these. Everyone has access to Google. You can learn how to do these things. If you're a baker, should you learn how to build a website from scratch in HTML, CSS? Probably not. Do you have to? If you feel like you have to, that's a problem because you don't
yeah,
have to.
you're 100% right. I mean, I was having this debate with myself this morning. I've got to do some financial stuff.
Mhm.
I got a phone call from a bookkeeper, and I was chatting to them, and I was listening to them talk. And I said, by the time this guy finished talking, I could have actually just done the thing I needed to do.
Exactly.
So now this is the problem, right? Because you know enough information to be dangerous. So I know I can go do my books, I can go do the thing I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't value is by doing that work, because I usually do it at night when I should be doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my financials, not doing the product that I'm supposed to be designing or the consulting document I'm supposed to be writing, or whatever it is. Yes, I can do it, but I should have just paid somebody else to do it, because whilst I'm capable, I shouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
And there's a level of trusting somebody else, and going back to your point about a certain type of person that you are and what you do. When I want to bring somebody in that I work with, I want them to be similar. I want them to be the kind of person that's not going to say, this is a cookie cutter thing and this is how you make the cookie. You do it this way every single time and it gives you this result every single time. I want the person that knows how to make the cookie and do the cookie cutter, but also go, but if you add this other ingredient, you get an exponential return from this thing. It tastes 10 times better. That's the person I want, because then I know I can trust them that they're going to push the boundary to get the maximum benefit.
I had a similar conversation with second graders, actually.
Well, yeah.
And so second graders argue because they're second graders. And I was being mediator, and I said, hey, arguing little boys, is 2 + 2 4? Both second grade, magnet, and excelling children, top 99th percentile in math. They both say yes. And I say, okay, if 2 + 2 is 4, then what is 3 + 1? And they say 4. And I say, well, no, according to your logic, because they were having an argument, 2 + 2 is the only way, because 2 + 2 is 4. And they say, no, that's not what I meant. It's not what I meant. And it's like, you have to have that mindset when it comes to a lot of things, especially with language, because language is very sticky, especially at that early age, because a lot of things are just taken so literally. It's like 2 + 2 is not 4. 2 + 2 is a way to get to 4. So as long as you guys are getting to 4, I don't care how you get it. Just get to 4.
Yeah.
However you get to it is how you get to it. So and I
think a lot of
like it's just the basics of how to think, not what to think. So as long as you know how to think, we're cool. If I got to tell you exactly what to think and what to do and da 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 da, nah, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Well, and that comes back to the point around education systems around the world are broken. There is no analytical system. There is no. I mean, I see it we have these debates at home all the time. I don't care about my son going to school from a academics point of view, in the sense that he doesn't I want him to be social. I want him to know to read and write and do maths. He's definitely got the intellect to do those things. But what I do care about is he a critical thinker? Does he challenge things? Does he push? Does he have an opinion? Yes, he's going to run into a lot of people that are not going to like that. But that's not a bad thing. And rather he gets used to that now than later on in life. And I'm seeing it with somebody that's, sorry, someone's trying to phone me, that he's done very well academically, but he's struggling in the business world because in to do well in the academic world, it's very structured. You have to pass a test, you have to write an essay, you got plenty of time, all that kind of stuff. But when you're in the business world, you got to know how to prioritize, you know how to sequence things, you got to know how to interpret things, you got to know how to comprehend what's going on, and you got to be able to know what the deliverable is.
And then in business as well, I've heard something similar as far as C students make the best C suites, because the more
I'm definitely on the right track.
The more A's you got, just basically said, I know how to regurgitate information, and I will give you the answer that you want for this particular task, whether or not it's true or not. And so in America, it's always Columbus discovered America. It's Columbus Day. I don't want to date the episode, but it's coming soon. And so even as adults, we have to tell our children that Christopher Columbus discovered America. We all know that this is a lie. But if you want to get an A on that test, you have to create this cognitive dissonance and make it happen.
Yeah.
But I have digressed myself. I was essentially saying, as far as being a business owner, you often have to come up with solutions that aren't cookie cutter. And especially as a consultant going into, because I do small companies, like literally like the company around the corner from my house. I just walked in there, got a smoothie, we started talking, and now I'm consulting for that smoothie company, right? But I also have consulted with Best Buy and the people on Burger King and Tim Hortons, and I've done Home Depot, Delta, all the Atlanta companies pretty much. And so it's like, the solution for the smoothie lady around the corner from my house, it may be similar, but it's not going to be the same solution, cookie cutter, stampy solution that I have for a IBM or a Snapchat or Snap. Sorry, they changed their name. Snap.
No, and I totally get that. I mean, it sounds like, again, we're very similar. So I'm one of those people that I engage a different level of company, and I will sit in a room and I get frustrated because I'll be saying, this is the worst way you could actually do something. So a guy reached out to me yesterday on LinkedIn, and he said, we have this thing we want to talk to you about. I was like, oh, actually, that's very interesting. Here's my Calendly link. Book it in. And he replied to me, oh, it was about user experience. That's what they do. So he said, oh, no, we can't use your link. You have to use our link. So here's the link. Can you think? I said, well, that's really poor user experience. And he replied to me going, yeah, but this is how we work. I said, yeah, but if you are in about user experience and I'm the user, I'm just giving you my link to book the time in. Now you've irritated me because now you've told me you can't use my link, I have to use yours. And you're arguing with me about your way is the only way to do it. So that's not about user experience.
Because 2 + 2 is 4.
Are you missing? Yeah, well, exactly. Are you missing that this is not, we're not going to proceed here. Like, if you can't do this part right, we definitely can't talk about serious stuff. And you
so
see it all the time.
That takes a lot of maturity, like on your part, as far as like the businessman that you are, because especially like early on, right? It's like if any company of any size just blinks at you, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, right? But it's like somebody hires you on a ship to be a navigator, but then your first 2 years, it's like, hey, here goes this bucket and bail out the water from the bottom of the boat. And you're like, okay, cool. Oh, there's holes in here. Let me fix these holes. And they're like, no, don't you fix those holes. Those holes have always been here. The founder put those holes here. Here goes your bucket. Make it work. But I'm a navigator. No, here goes your bucket. Bail out the water. Don't worry about the holes. Mind your business. You're causing trouble. We're going to write you up. And so that is essentially what working in a lot of different companies have been, especially early on, until you get the maturity or the brazenness to be like, no, I'm a navigator. I'm going to go find another boat. That boat might have holes in it. I'm going to try my best to influence those, but I'm a navigator. I'm a navigator.
And I'm working with two startups at the moment, and I was chatting with one of the founders yesterday, and we were saying, when you build your startup business, you have people in the first gear that you have. But in order to go to the second gear or the third gear, you have to have different people that take you to those gears. And the people that were good in the first gear are not necessarily going to be good in the second or the third gear. And unfortunately, that means you're going to have some tough conversations with people that, and I always notice, and this, with age comes experience. You can always tell someone that's got a lot of experience and has done a lot of things because of the way that they talk about themselves in a meeting. Usually people with a lot of experience and a lot of things don't talk about themselves.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I'd ever talked about
They,
myself. I'm
they,
getting
don't, they
scared.
don't, especially not to give titles or whatever it is, because
Hmm.
they very quickly turn it around about everybody else in the room
Hmm.
to hear what everyone else has to say and all the rest of it. And then maybe at the end, they'll subtly drop in something or subtly say something like, oh, actually, I run the whole product. It's like the whole
Yeah,
business. And I always love that reality TV show, Undercover Boss,
false. Hmm.
because that to me is the best way to suss out the culture of a company. You basically go in, no one knows who you are. You get to know a few people, you see how they treat you. And it's not
Hmm.
so much getting into the gossip and stuff, but you want to see how people treat each other in the workplace. And then that's how you decide if you want to work with a company or not. Because if they are respectful, nice people, don't care about all the color, creed, etc., that stuff, but if they treat each other well, then you know you're going to have a good time working there. If they don't treat each other well, or you can sense that little bit of friction, then you
Hmm.
know that there's issues. And if you're there to fix those issues, that's fine. But if you're not there to fix the issues, you're there to deliver something.
Yeah.
You know that delivering is exponentially harder because there's already issues. That
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of C-suite fails as well. And it's really hard to do a undercover boss situation, kind of like at like a super small company where it's like you and like
Yeah.
Pam and like 3 contractors. But but it's like I was at this data conference on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and everyone had the same gripe about the level of expectation from their boss's boss or like productivity or whatever, because they don't understand the basic function of what they're even asking for. And so I think even as business owners, if you can just ask when you are asking for something, have your vision, have your direction, have your whatever, but just say, hey, that thing that I told everyone to do last week, what does that take on an individual basis, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then ask the customers once the product is to the market, hey, what did you have to do to implement this the way that you're using it? Because a lot of times when like you create a product, people aren't using it the way you made the products,
Oh,
right?
100%.
And
100%.
so
Yeah.
and so it's like, so how are you using this? Because I didn't build it that way. And then the next thing you know, this is a very bad example, but I can't think of anything else. So like the mouthwash Listerine,
Yes. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
blue one, that was originally like to mop floors and stuff. It was like a disinfectant.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so it was like a Lysol or whatever, right?
Well, I suppose. I mean, Coke was a cough mixture.
True. Very true.
So,
It still might work today. I don't know.
and it was called
Haven't
cocaine,
get a chance
Coke
to
because of
try
the
it.
cocaine. So,
Exactly. So 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 it's like, how are people using this mopping solution that I created? Oh, they're using it for bad breath. Oh, I guess we're a mouthwash company now. And so
wow.
if like they would have, just kind of given up and been like, oh, well, no one's using our stuff to mop the floors, we must be a failure, then Listerine wouldn't be here today. Or Coke, and their cocaine. They would have been like, oh, actually, people were just drinking it just to drink it, but but I think that's a different vein of thought. Especially living in Atlanta, I'm gonna get like hate and stuff now, but
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of these things. I mean, as you say, the accident leads to the real innovation. I mean, I look at so many things, so many businesses that I've worked with where they've pivoted because they've realized that what they were doing. And one of my favorite stories is the one with a friend of mine's company where they were, if you ever had a subscription to a TV service, like a cable service,
Mhm.
and you tried to cancel, you would speak to their company. They were the call center for whichever company it was. And then you would speak to them, and their value was the ability to convince you to stay on the service.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting. He'd come in as the marketing manager, CMO, and we were playing golf. And he said, "Oh yeah, so they've fired the CEO, and they've asked me to become the CEO." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And he's accepted the role. But now he said, "We've got all these issues." Da 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 da. So let me come in and go through see what we can come up with, etc. So I went in and I spent the time, and I came back and said, well, look, your biggest value here is that you are actually an expert system. Like,
Mhm.
you know how you've put all the pieces together that everyone looks for when they want to go build a product to turn something into a product. So your opportunity now is to, because they were a call center business, they had built, instead of buying CRM systems, they built their own. And what had happened is that CRM system had basically gone into clients as part of the service, and they'd sold the software and the service to the customer of theirs to use it.
Mhm.
But what they should have done, instead of building the CRM system and all the rest of it, what they should have done is packaged up their IP into an analytics platform, which is what they ended up doing,
Mhm.
and getting rid of the CRM thing. Now, where they had the issue is that the basic people had bought the CRM system and were expecting it to be supported because it was a CRM system for subscription management, which didn't really exist in the market. But there's so much legacy, so many whatever, so they had the issues and whatever it was. But the thing I loved about that was that going in and doing that analysis was with all the people was basically helping them join the dots between each other to realize that actually the reason why they were so good at their job was not because one person was good at their job, is because they all held in their heads the expertise when combined together gave you the full picture.
Yep.
And that became something that could be systematized. And not so they could lose their jobs, but that they could do their jobs exponentially better.
Yes. I feel the same way about like AI, because so many people are like, oh, their AI is going to take over my job. AI is going to take over my job. Again, I just left a conference, and it's like AI is not taking your job, Steve, unless you're just really, really bad at your job in the next like year. So like, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. But it's like using systems, because before it was AI, everyone was business automation, business system, whatever. It's like if you can, as the individual person, figure out a way how to systematize your job, and don't put your company's information out on ChatGPT or anything else like that, because you might get fired. But like, find a way to create systems within your day-to-day life, even if it's, your Calendly link or whatever, just some sort of system, some sort of discipline around what you do. You will be exponentially productive, which I think is going to hurt us as a society in the next 5 years in general. But you will personally be super duper productive, and you'll have way less stress because you don't have to think about it. It's just kind of already there and kind of already done. And then also, like, your story, finding what your value proposition is, figure out how people are using the things that you've already given them, and then iron it out, package it up, sell it at a premium if you want to. I'm not telling you what to do. I don't know you, but just don't make hard things harder by coming up with complicated solutions. Just as simple as two second graders arguing. 2 + 2 is not 4. 2 + 2 is a way to get to 4. 2 + 2. And
No,
so it's really that easy. It's really that easy.
No, and I think you're right. I mean, there are people that I know of, and I'm not, obviously blaming anybody for what they are, but there are people I think that keep things hard because it keeps them in jobs.
Yep.
And that's a sad, really sad state of affairs. But that is sometimes what people's value proposition is. And I saw this at some of the banks that I worked at. Guys that have been there for 20 years, 30 years, and they were doing the most mundane job, but because it kept them in their job, and because of the labor laws, and some labor laws are really good, some aren't very good. Because of the labor laws, they couldn't get fired because the cost of firing them was far more than just keeping them on. And that's it's an unambitious way of doing things, but some people are like that.
Yeah.
Me, I try put things in position through systems that I don't have to be involved in everything. That's what I try to do, because then I know that if it's systematized correctly, then I'm out. Then I can go do something else, because I know that I get bored of this thing in 3, 4, 5 months. Because it's not going to be. I want to be dealing with more problems, not the problem that I've already solved.
Yeah, like I want new challenges. Nothing that's gonna stress me out and keep me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But it's just like, I don't want to be. So people say, oh, I have 15 years of experience. No, you have 3 years of experience 5 times. Like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, and when I was growing up in South Africa and I was working on my own and I was doing my own thing, and then I was working for companies and stuff, and I'd be moving jobs all the time. And that's you UK moves as well a lot. And guys are like, yeah, but why do you keep moving? There's no security in moving. I was like, no, there's no security in staying.
Yeah, there's zero security in staying.
Because and there's no security in a job either. I mean, American labor laws are very, very flexible in that respect. But you're no more at risk being a consultant as you are being a employee. It's the same level of risk. In fact, I think there's more risk being an employee sometimes because your behaviors are driven to keep the job, not driven to be out of there with showing value. And I think that's the world we're moving into, which is the fractional world and part-time expertise, which is consulting, advising, whatever you want to call it. But I think that's where we're going. I think there'll always be core people employed, the doers, but you need to people come in to spark it. We haven't even talked about your motto, the 3 things for burning. What was it? Spark.
Oh, spark, flame, blaze. So spark is just, you have that spark of an idea, right? It's like, oh, I got this idea. Michelle, help me, right? And then flame is, you kind of got things going. You got a couple customers. Now you want to get, business funding, or you want to, understand your actual business and analytics, God forbid, or you just want to be better. You might want to go from $1,000 a month to $10,000 a month or something like that, or $10,000 to $100,000. Who knows, right? And then blaze is, all right, I've been doing this for a while. I got all my foundation set up. Now, everybody's talking about AI. I want to put some AI in my business now. But it's more so about business automation, business leveraging, taking things to the next level. Maybe you put in new products, or maybe you go acquire another business, or maybe you go do whatever to kind of grow an empire as far as that enterprise level type of business, and not just like a mom and pop shop anymore. It's not like you and like 3 guys just trying to stay afloat anymore. It's like, all right, I'm a real business. I got on a tie today. I'm a fancy man, or lady. You could be a fancy lady.
Yeah.
So that's more so of a, elementary school, middle school, high school type of logic there.
Yeah. That's great. I think it's fantastic. We're running a little bit out of time. So do you want people to contact you directly on LinkedIn? What's your preference?
Yeah. So right now we're still in pre-launch. Like all my friends kind of dogpiled on me, and then I did a thing at the library. And so now I have like so many people that's like, oh, help me. And now I'm like, the business didn't launch yet, guys, calm down. But so we're still in a pre-launch. But if you want to just reach out to me on LinkedIn, it's Michelle A. Basset. I'm pretty sure there's a link somewhere around here.
Yeah, we'll share it in the notes.
Yeah. But depending on when you listen to this, the company, the product, because it's a part of a company, the product is called BizQor, BizQor. All other spellings and iterations were unavailable domain wise, and I wasn't going to pay like $50,000 for a URL for a product that I wasn't even sure about at the time. But here we are. Very sure.
How are you checking your market fit? I mean, obviously you mentioned friends and family, but are you building a simple prototype to begin with, or are you building? I mean, how are you approaching it? Maybe to finish off on that.
So it was in full transparency, it was a totally different notion, a totally different idea when I actually wound up having the spark of what this was going to be, and I actually started for a friend because she just had a baby and she wanted to work from home. And I was like, oh, well, here goes a simple thing, blah, blah, blah. Here's how you do it. She didn't want to do it. But so it started off as a white label platform. And then from a white label platform, it became, well, it's missing like these 20 different components. And so then I had those 20 different components added on, and then I added course material and things like that. And then I really built out the roadmap and, how to actually do the business to make 2 + 2 4.
No, look, it's exactly how we started. I mean, we had a customer. I mean, this is a solution I've been trying to build for years, and I've tested the methodology a lot of times. And in the end, because of low code, no code technologies, was able to build it. And I think you've got to start there. You've got to start with the pain and reproduce the solution to that pain a few times to come to what the core is. And then that becomes your product.
That's really what happened. That's the middle and end of that.
Super. Well, great. It's been great chatting with you. I wish you all the best with the product. Let's keep in touch.
Yes.
You'll get a link to join our community. You're more welcome to join it.
Awesome.
You thrive in there. And I look forward to speaking in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to speaking to you as well. I'll definitely let you know about that shower thing.
Great. Yeah, let me know. Cool. Thanks, Michelle. All the best.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Heather Bicknell is our producer and editor. Thank you, Heather, for your hard work on this episode. Please subscribe to the series and rate us on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Follow us on Twitter @the DWW Podcast. The show notes and transcripts will be available on the website www.digitalworkspace.works. Please also visit our website www.digitalworkspace.works and subscribe to our newsletter. And lastly, if you found this episode useful, please share with your friends or colleagues.